So, Lewis, man, let's talk about how Kawasaki is right now and what they're doing. I mean, the Bimoto guys struggled. Gerloff struggled. Um, you know, is it a matter of just not having enough finance to put into this bike? Is it just more time? The Bimotos will probably do better next season.
Well, the Motos have a little bit more than the Kawasaki Direct, which is weird because Kawasaki themselves this year kind of threw their hands up, from my understanding, and really hasn't provided Garrett or anybody on a Kawasaki any support. Like they almost threw their hands up this year, like, yo, just ride what you have and, do the best you can with what you have. To my understanding, they're supposed to do a little bit more next year. They're supposed to provide a little bit more support. But that's kind of a wait and see. Are they going to do that? Because just like the R1, the ZX10 is now very long in the tooth, just like the Suzuki, just like the CBR. And like I said, it's these Japanese brands do not have a huge emphasis on developing new superbike motors because that's not where the money is at the consumer retail level. It's still important for them to go racing and have their name out there. But until they get that emphasis on wanting to have competitive motorcycles, I don't see it happening. I see Honda making more strides than anyone else right now. I think Yamaha has kept pushing out the same bike for a long time. And now it's kind of coming to the end of its run where it's like, all right, now it really is starting to lose a lot of momentum. It's not as competitive. It's not this, it's not that. But Kawasaki, it seems like it gave up a long time ago. It's one of the reasons Jonathan Ray left Kawasaki is they gave up seems like 5 or 6 years ago.
And it's not even just at the World Superbike level. Club racing, you see these
club
guys,
racing,
like the Kawi was the bike, for a little bit to kind of face off against the R1 2015, 16, 17. Yep. And now you see those guys. Some of these guys are switching to BMWs and different manufacturers. And I mean, Ducati, BMW kind of deal, which is it's almost like. I don't know if they didn't understand that was going to happen. Maybe they thought people would still buy bikes if they didn't throw anything into it. But it's tough when you're putting up 18, 19, 20 grand. If you want to get really fancy and get the 28 grand Kawi, put more investment in.
And that's the thing. If you're going to raise the price on something, you got to raise the value of the thing that you're raising the price on. And you got to show that value is there. I can keep raising the price on something, but if I don't really change it, if I can just say, well, the price is going up because costs are going up, that doesn't really register to a consumer because they're like, well, last year I could have bought that same bike for $2,000 less. Mm-hmm. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to buy a used one. So now you start losing the new buyer and you convert what should be a new buyer into a used bike buyer. And now they go to the used market. And now as a manufacturer, I don't see the sales anymore because that consumer is not buying my new product. They're buying my used product. And that used product doesn't bring any money back to me as the manufacturer. So then I'm like, well, wait a second. This isn't selling. Why isn't it selling? I'm selling less. So now I need to increase the price to make up the difference for what I lost. And then all you keep doing is taking that new buyer and pushing them back to the used. So you become part of your own self-fulfilling prophecy. You're pushing the new buyer away because you keep raising the price, but you don't keep raising the value, and you don't show the value because you don't support it by going into racing or doing these other things. So it becomes this very circular thing that the only thing that can stop it is the company decides we're going to make a new bike.
Right.
We're going to set the price here, and we're going to invest this much into getting the bike in front of consumers so they can see how good the bike is.
Yeah.
Nice. And unfortunately, the Japanese manufacturers aren't in that mindset. The only one that seems to kind of be coming back around to that mindset is Honda. But again, we'll wait and see because the CBR SPR has been around for a while now, and it's shown a couple of flashes of brilliance here and there. But it's not competitive week in, week out. Right. It's starting to do some things, but it's not there yet.
It's not there. TJ, what are your thoughts on
Yeah.
that? I mean,
Yeah.
Honda, Yamaha, and Kawasaki and Suzuki, your brands. You got a Yamaha, you got a Suzuki. I got two Yamahas. It's like you heard Lewis say, they're starting to come around. Honda, it's a little bit too late. I mean, we do see the flashes of that in Motor America. If you look at some of the European rounds and BSB rounds and stuff like that, we see Honda at World Superbike. We see it. The Honda's gotten on the podium. But is it too late for the fans? I know if Smitty was on air, he'll probably say no because he's diehard Honda guy. But we're not seeing that trickle down to a lot of CBR 1000, RRR.
I mean, I don't want to say it's too late. Um, Everyone likes to see improvement. So when you do better as the season go on, like you can get a grasp on it and say, hey, it just brings you more attention to yourself. But what I'll say is if like next season, if the same thing happens where Honda doesn't find themselves to like the end of the season, it's just like, you guys just, I don't know, just developing too late. It can't keep up. But I don't think it's too late. And, I'm not a super big Honda fan, but I just know, just being on the podcast with Smitty, I just know how happy he is right now. Just seeing, just seeing this Honda actually being a little relevant and getting finishes and just looking good overall compared to like how they started. So it's good to see that. Um, but yeah, I don't think it's too late. But as far as like being competitive, like yeah, they have nothing to really shoot for. But it's always to get better results each time out. And
Yeah, right.
just slightly going back to Kawasaki, like and Garrett Gerloff, and I just feel so bad for him this season. And I think he re-signed again.
Yep.
But um, I just remember the year, like he hasn't really had any good results this year, and just being Top Rock's teammate the year before on BMW, even though Top Rock killed it, like he was able to still find good finishes here and there. And like right now, it's just like I don't know what's going on, and like Lewis is saying, like they just gave up, and it just sucks to see that when you're a rider trying to get better results, as long as they kind of still paying you and whatever, but still you don't want to be always in the back of the pack.
Well, you heard
But it's
you heard what Shake said about winning. I think like Cam and these guys that raced in Moto 2 and even Moto GP and then come over to a different category and you go from the middle of the pack or top 15 to top 5. It feels good to walk around being top 5, top 3. So,
yeah.
I mean, how Gerloff, if he came back to the States, he's what he's like, oh, who's number one?
I mean, you can even see the levels. I mean, like where we sit as Americans, like in our level. So you go to World Superbike. Obviously, it's I think Bobby's first time, and the bike's not too developed as like what Bulaga and Top Rack's doing, but he was still in the back of the pack. Like he still has a lot of work to do. It's not like he just went over there and was just mid pack because of his skill level. So it's just still like uh, it's still you want to see improvement and
Right,
just to be in the back.
right.
No,
You're right. It's not just Bobby Fong. I mean, it's the whole team, right? Because it's one thing to be the top team in your arena or field, or in this case, the U.S. And then seeing how those guys are moving over there and stuff like that. So I think overall, the whole team. Which I think is cool to see because last year I believe only Gillum and maybe a couple of people went over when he rode. He didn't. There was not like the whole team from the U.S. So to
Yep.
have that whole team come over and Reese is over there as well. So I think the teams from Gagne and Bobby are over there. So I gotta assume when they come back, they're gonna have a little extra.
I believe that. I believe that for sure. And then it's just like I said, the 2 rounds is really good. Where you kind of can feel comfortable to like even just not one and done and like oh wait till next year.
Right,
You
right,
know, like he can actually like all right. I know these riders' tendencies now. At least the pack that he was riding with, Bobby, and like all right, let's see if I can stay with them next time. Let's see what they can do at this track. Let's see what I can do with these tires. Like you have another chance, and it's just good to see. And hopefully next year we get 2 rounds again, and maybe like Lewis said, some super sport riders, and hopefully they can come to the U.S. But
right. Yeah.
yeah,
No, it's crazy to see, and I know. I'll move to Lewis and just add this. I mean, Bobby's pretty lucky, right? Because Gagne has won so much with that team, and if it was a difference in the points this year, it might have been Gagne on that bike instead of Bobby. So to be a first year guy on a team and to do that and then get this opportunity, and it's going to make him even a better rider for next year. Is a beautiful thing. But Lewis, you said you had some things you wanted to touch on. And about what's things to come in, the numbers in Motor America and such.
Yeah, so I wanted to go through. So I got an early draft of what Motor America is going to put out soon. Just overall numbers for the season, overall number for attendance, how things were from event to event, and I got to kind of look at just a quick snapshot today. The official information I think will get released like the end of this week. But overall, like Moto America had a very big increase in attendance overall for the year, which is great. Considering the tracks that they went to and, some tracks had better attendance than others. But overall, the attendance this year, the participation, the engagement this year did increase dramatically from last year. And even last year was a good step up from the year before. So since COVID, we've seen this steady increase in Motor America attendance year over year. Mm-hmm. This year, it was a little bit more than just a steady increase. And a lot of it, as much as people like to shit on the baggers, a lot of it can be directly contributed to the baggers. Any event where there was baggers scheduled to attend had significantly higher attendance than any event that did not have the baggers scheduled to attend. And that's an eye-opening thing. That is, you're reaching out to a new fan base that is not a normal fan base for road racing. You're engaging with them, and they're willing to come out and watch the races, which is crazy to me because we got all these I didn't realize how many MotoGP superstars and financial wizards we have on the internet. We have millions in the US. I mean, I'm surprised I have a job with all these geniuses that are out here on the internet spewing all their dumb shit about why they think Motor America is failing when actually Motor America is doing very well. It's just that they refuse to admit that baggers are a big part of why Motor America is doing very well.
Right.
And, I think just looking at the data, I think you're going to see baggers at more races next year because they're going to want to capitalize on the fact that baggers have 6 rounds in MotoGP. The
12.
first round
Sorry, 12.
Well, no, they have 6 MotoGP rounds that have baggers in them.
Right. No, it's 12.
No, it's 6. 12. It's 6 events.
Oh, I thought it was 12 events for next season.
No, it's 6 events. It's Coda. Really. Yeah, it's Coda, Mugello. It's 6 events, and all the events are pretty much in Europe because they don't want to fly the bikes to Asia and Indonesia and all these other places. Right. But at those particular events, I think even in Europe, they're going to start seeing some significant turnout because the big thing with these events is Harley Davidson goes in and spends a lot of money when they go to these events. In 2024, and again, these are estimates that I was given, so take them with a grain of salt. It's estimated that Harley Davidson invested about $400,000 in attending MotoGP in 2024.
Wow.
Between what they did at the track, which was a massive activation, and what they did at events around Austin during the weekend of MotoGP, which is, $400,000 is not peanuts. Nope. It's a lot of money. And you and I were at MotoGP this year. I can tell you that the attendance this year was visually smaller than it was last year when the baggers were there. When the baggers were there, there was hardly any place to park motorcycles because there was Harley Davidsons parked everywhere.
Wow.
And this year you could walk around and you could visually see the area where Harley Davidson was at had so many less people. And overall, just walking around, you could visually see there was so much less engagement in this particular fan base of motorcycling that doesn't really care about sport bikes.
Right. So Motor America needs to just have Harley Davidson at every round.
They should. Well, not at every round, because even with baggers, there's some rounds that Motor America does that I'm not going to say they're a loss, but they will never have the attendance at those rounds, unfortunately. Like when they go to COTA, they're never going to get a massive attendance at COTA, only because COTA is the site of MotoGP. And at that particular track, if you get 40,000 people that come out, it looks like 8 people show up because the track is so big that 40,000 people looks like nothing.
Walking for days.
Yeah, you're walking for days. You and me been there, man. Like you're like, damn, if there was ever a place to have a scooter, this is it.
Right? Seriously. Get them shoes with the wheels in the bottom.
Yeah, what are they called? Wheelies?
Helix or something.
Yeah. The other event that doesn't show up a lot of people is the Ridge.
Yeah.
The attendance at the Ridge is not that great. The attendance this year at VIR was good, but you got to remember they hadn't been to VIR in a couple of years, so it's a little hit miss, because if you don't go on a regular basis, you see a decline.
Right.
And then the other place that they had a little bit of a decline, and it's because of the scheduling. They had Barber, and then they immediately had Road Atlanta. And from Road Atlanta to Barber is only about a 4.5, 5 hour drive. So you're taking from the same pool of people, and you want them to go to this track for one weekend, and then 2 weeks later go to another track. So you're cannibalizing your audience, because you're not going to pull as many people to one location when you divide it over 2 locations that were within a 4.5, 5 hour driving distance. Wisconsin, Road America, biggest turnout. You want to guess why? What's in Wisconsin, dude?
Jeez.
The home of Harley fucking Davidson. And you know what else they had at Wisconsin? Baggers.
Yeah. Now that makes sense.
Massive turnout, because you're in Harley Davidson's backyard, so they're going to invest. So this is one of the things that people need to they need to stop shitting on the baggers and understand that the baggers are bringing attention to the sport, whether you like them or not. And what I would like to see is more baggers out there. However, there's news that just broke. Breaking news. Indian just got sold. Polaris no longer owns Indian. And they're going to sell it. They sold it to a group that's being an equity group. So that's always good news. They sold it. They sold it to an equity group, and it's headed by the former president of Vance and Hine.
Okay.
So this is a motorcycle guy. He actually did work for them for a long time, and before that, he was a VP at Harley Davidson.
Okay.
So it might be a good fit. You know, they're spinning it off into its own company to try to be a little bit more of a direct competitor with Harley Davidson.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and they had their moments. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, you know, people were buying them. I don't know if they thought. I don't know what they thought, because there was a good amount of people that were buying them instead of buying, you know, some of these Harleys and some of these other bikes, and who didn't want the big BMWs and stuff like that. So I'm surprised that they were struggling, and you know, I think, you know, in the last 5 years, I don't see a lot of Indians as I was seeing, like, you know, before the pandemic.
I think what they need to do is that, one, they have better technology in their bikes than Harley does. I know Harley is doing a lot of changes now, and they're kind of changing their lineup, and they're going to bring back a sub $10,000 Harley Davidson to try to get that entry-level rider. So they're doing a lot of good things. Like the new president of Harley Davidson has a little bit of an eye on the ball for the future, and they understand that they need to start that by having an entry-level motorcycle that's well-equipped, under $10,000, to get their consumers at an earlier age into Harley Davidson and indoctrinate them into the Harley Davidson culture. Indian needs to kind of go back to the same thing because Indian started making bikes that were way too expensive, over-engineered, and all this other things. They need to go back to building a motorcycle that is for the masses, that is at a price point that has the Indian styling, the Indian heritage, and try to get back to, indoctrinating these guys and these girls in their teens, in their 20s, and
That's
so
right.
forth and so on. And I think they have an incredible opportunity because they're going to come into this market not in a lot of debt. They're going to come into this market with a company that, from what I understand, is has a very deep portfolio and has very deep pockets. And if this company invests in Indian the right way, invests in the dealer network the right way, makes it affordable and profitable for dealers to carry Indian, because remember, this is another place where Indian and Harley vastly different. Harley wants you to be an only Harley dealer.
Right.
Whereas Indian does not mind if you put a Ducati or a BMW next to an Indian, because to them, it opens up to more opportunities for more dealers. So I think Indian, if they play their cards right, if they come up with the right lineup and they place it in the right dealers and have the right support and the right infrastructure, they can quickly see their sales turn around and increase their market value. But again, I just got a text about this from somebody just telling me, hey, Indian just got sold.
Wow, that is
So
hot off the
out of
press.
the press.
And
So real quick, why won't there be more bikes on the grid? Oh, you said less bikes.
Well, the problem is if Indian gets sold, Indian was supporting a lot of the people racing on the Indian racing team. So before, when Polaris owned them, they already had a preset budget for racing, a preset budget for this, preset budget for that. Now this new company came in. Is this company going to be interested in going racing? And if they are, how much are they willing to invest up front? Whereas Polaris in the past was kind of floating the bill for Indian to go racing. Now Indian has to float that bill all by themselves under this new ownership. And you have to look at the numbers. If it's going to cost me $2.5 million to go racing, is that $2.5 million that I'd rather invest somewhere else?
well,
As a company that's now your own standalone company, you don't have somebody else's piggy bank to dig money out of.
Well, I mean, the fact that they did all what they did was maybe in the process of being sold or in the guise of being sold, like kind of what we saw MotoGP doing when they were overhauling their website, getting rid of some of these old big contract guys, bringing all these young guys in and signing them at lower cost, obviously, and stuff like that. So maybe Indian was already, I've been through a couple of companies that in hindsight, the writing was on the wall when you see people pulling out their measuring tape and you think they're just going to be hanging plants.
Most company buyouts like this typically take about 2.5 to 3 years. That's when you're at this size of a company. And I've known, I've been with several companies that have been bought and sold. It's usually about a 2.5 to 3 year process between looking at the books, setting up the sale properly, making sure your EBITDA is in the right way. And for those of you that don't know what EBITDA is, don't worry about it, but it sucks. But if you're in business, you got to know what your EBITDA is. And making the numbers work so that when the next buyer picks it up, they kind of can pick up the ball and keep rolling with it. And usually there's a transition phase where for 6 or 8 months, the top level executives of the old company stay in place to kind of hand the baton off to the new executive. And after about a year, all those old executives get their final buyout and the new executives take the ball and keep running. So there is a possibility that the Indian team and the racing department is going to stay as is, but there's also an opportunity. Maybe it'll grow.
Right. Well, we hope that because we like to see the motorcycle industry grow. And speaking of go and grow, we're gonna get out of here. But who's gonna, what's gonna happen in Phillip Island this coming weekend?
Let's see. Well, there's
pigeons.
I was like, wait, we still talking about Superbike? No, so we back in MotoGP, and it's gonna be an exciting weekend because we don't have Mark out there. Like you said, we don't have a couple riders. It's gonna be interesting. Like, I don't know if Bez is gonna be 100%. Like, that's like Mark, Bez, and they're like the top front runners.
Hey, listen, somebody want that bonus money, man. Come on,
I know.
that's beer money right there.
And I want to say Fabio's finally going to come on his own and pull something out of his ass. And it is a fast track, and I know it's going to be hard to keep the pace, but there's those top riders are just not there. I don't know if Pecco can keep that Ducati and stay in front of everybody. So.
Yeah.
But it'll be nice to see him back on the podium with nobody out there. Well, there's a lot of riders out there. You know what I'm trying to say. The champion's not out there. Martin's not out there.
Yep.
All of it, Maverick's not out there. So,
right.
But yeah, I'll say
if Reese was here, he'd say Pecco's not out there, even though he's out there.
He's only there for fourth and fifth.
Yeah. So hopefully it can change that to third, maybe. But yeah, it would be good to see like Fabio, maybe one of the Honda guys. Definitely, I actually want to say the VR46 Academy. So, Division 20 up there.
Yeah, I'll say that. I'll say this, and then I'll ask Lewis. I think it's any like the top 10 guys from the last round. Like all those guys, had a chance and had their moment if they get the setup right. I think any of those guys, because like we see and we know that the top guys are not there, and so here's a chance to steal one. What are your thoughts, Lewis?
I want to go young, man. I want to go Acosta. I want to go
Raul.
I want to go young, man. I want to see these guys that kind of showed up at the Aldeguer. Like, I want to see these young guys back up there, man. Don't make it a one-off. Like, show up and do 2 in a row. Show that you can, this wasn't a fluke, man. Right. I've been in this place for a while now. Let's do it. The KTM should do well at this track because they've got the grunt down the straightaway. Aldeguer should do well because he's been showing now that he can, like we said earlier, he needed to put a complete race together. Get the bike to work at the beginning as good as it works at the end and run a complete race. And this past time he showed, hey, I got the bike to work in the beginning and it works just as good as the end. And I was able to run a complete race. And look what I did, man. Right. In 2 races, I was right there.
And Acosta is hot because he wanted, he got it. He's hot because I would be hot. I'm like, I'll be hot.
I got nipped by a rookie.
Yeah.
I'm hot.
He don't even have a nickname yet. I don't think he even got a nickname yet.
What is that? What is Acosta? The shark?
The shark?
Yeah.
Dude,
he just got hit with a killer whale by a killer whale.
Acosta's like, yo, but I'm the shark. And this guy don't even have a nickname, bro. He don't even have his own style. He uses a yellow 54 that Top Rack is trying to buy for him from like $50,000.
He's a lucky guy.
He's Mr. Nobody too.
Yeah, I'm like, yo, I got beat by nobody that didn't do anything in Moto 2. Like, I'm a Moto 2 champion. So I think him and again, I think if Bez isn't at a 100%, then Aprilia's next best chance is Raul.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. Raul's running the shit out of that bike right now, man.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. So, young guns.
We'll see, man. Young guns. That's what I want. Young faces on the podium. Just can't even drink the Prosecco because they're not even of age.
Right. It's funny to say Qatar and they can't drink and they just clinking bottles and putting them down.
Clinking bottles and giving them milk. Like, here's your milk, man. You can't drink this. This is for adults.